Hi, Eric Wilson here. I'm your professor for this course, English 302, Romantic Cinema. I'm coming to you from my makeshift study slash studio that I've used during the time of the COVID virus. I have a 5-year-old stepson who spends a lot of time running around upstairs. So, in order for me to have any peace, I've moved down to the basement. And I know this seems a somewhat gothic backdrop. It certainly doesn't have the slickness and professional quality that a lot of backdrops have, but it will have to do. Creepy though it is. Yeah, this is a place where I do my painting as well as my writing. So from time to time, you'll see a painting of mine flashed up, an amateur painting flashed up on the screen. So this course is close to my heart. It really allows me to explore three of my great passions in life: British Romantic poetry, which I've been teaching at Wake Forest since 1998, teaching the likes of Blake, Coleridge, Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Byron. It also allows me to explore film. I'm obsessed with film, and I've actually written on film as well as the British Romantic poets. I have on the literary side, I have a book on Coleridge, I have a book on Blake, I have a book on Keats. On the film side, I have a book on. Oh, I just hit my laptop. Let's just keep running, right? Let's make this improvisational. We don't want to be too professional. It'll put too much pressure on us later on. David Lynch. I have a book on David Lynch. I have a book on Gnostic trends in late 20th century cinema. We'll learn a lot about Gnosticism. We don't know what it is at all, perhaps, right now, but we'll learn a lot about it as the course goes on. And I had a film on androids, artificial humans, and how they show up in films. A third passion I have and is creative writing. I teach creative writing now at Wake Forest. I have also taught classes on film and literature as well as classes on British Romantic poetry. I teach literary nonfiction primarily. I generally publish in that genre. I have a book called Against Happiness from 2008. I guess that's the book of mine that got the most attention, mainstream attention. But I've also published a good bit of fiction and poetry. So even though this is not a creative writing workshop, it is a class that will ask us to think about the creative choices that the filmmakers and the writers made. We want to try to think like creative writers, to get inside the heads, as it were, of these artists and why they made the choices they made when they were creating their work. So those are the three areas that of this class that really manifest my passions. So part of a problem with online learning is that much of the learning takes place either with you doing writing on your own or watching videos or talking to each other through screens. That's just how it is. So if this were a live course, what should we say, an in-person course, as the jargon now is, I would probably launch now into a somewhat frenzied lecture on William Blake. But because this is a class lacking in human presence, I thought it might be worthwhile to give you a sense of myself as a human presence. I'll be asking you to do the same in writing over the first few days of the class. I grew up in a little town about an hour from here called Taylorsville, North Carolina, a very rural area. My dad was the high school football coach there in town. Very successful. In fact, the stadium is named after him now. The high school stadium is named after him. So I spent the first 18 years of my life just really wanting to be an NFL quarterback. Didn't happen. I eventually made my way to poetry. As an undergraduate, I remember reading William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, and my head exploded, and nothing was the same since. I know that sounds like a scene from a movie, but that's what really happened. So I found my way to poetry, I found my way to philosophy, and eventually got a PhD in English from the Graduate Center of the City University of New York in 1996. And I came to Wake Forest in 1998, where I have indeed taught in these subjects I've just articulated to you. And I'll tell you this. These writers that we're studying are more than simply writers that I study. They have been muses and sages and gurus to me. They've doctored my soul. So I see these writers as presences that have expanded me as a human being. They've made me more compassionate. They've inspired me to think more deeply and more capaciously. So, yes, we will read these writers critically, but also we will look to them and to the filmmakers for ways that these works of art can inform our lives and help us to be better people. Now, this would be a time, I guess, when I should lay out my hobbies. I don't really like that word. I don't think I have hobbies. I think I have obsessions. Yes, let's say I run a lot. I cycle a lot. Those aren't hobbies. These are obsessions. I paint planetary scapes. I do portraits of country music stars like George Jones. I have family. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and she's actually attending Wake Forest this fall as a freshman. I'm excited about that. I have a fiance. I'm getting married second time around in October. And as I said earlier, I have a 5-year-old stepson. So I think those are enough personal facts about me to get us going. Again, the course is not about our personalities, it's about the subject matter. But because we are in a world where we probably crave personal contact, I think it's okay in a class, online class like this, for us to connect the literature to our lives, not formally necessarily, not even in a required way. But if it happens, it happens. I really want this class to make us feel more energized, more intense, more generous, and more imaginative. And I think that it cannot fail to do so through your participation and my own. All right, that's it for the course introduction. Other information to follow soon.